Hello and welcome to the Career Design Studio on Majors and Careers. I am Mark Isom. I'm the Adjunct Career Counselor at Los Medanos College in the Transfer and Career Services Department. This program was supposed to be presented live via Zoom, but at the moment, LMC and possibly other colleges in the district are experiencing some system outages. So we decided to cancel the live event for today, and instead I'm making this video for you. So here we are. So before we get started into things to consider when you're choosing a major and a career, I want you to think about this. Lots of people were involved in getting the following products to you. So what do you think those people might have majored in? First of all, let's think about peanut butter. Who doesn't love peanut butter, right? Well, I guess if you're allergic to peanuts, you don't love it. But I love it. It's just a staple of my life. When I look at this, I think of, first of all, farmers who grow the peanuts. I think of manufacturers who produce the peanut butter itself, but I also think of packaging experts, people who design the jar that it's in. Notice how nice and wide the top is so that you can get all of the peanut butter in the jar. You don't have to struggle for it. I think of people that designed the label. I think of scientists that researched and developed the best product to give for this company. I think of the people who drive the trucks and operate the trains and fly the airplanes that get this product from point A to point B, the grocers who put it on the shelves. So many people involved in getting this product to my kitchen and in my mouth. Let's think about this one. Here's a Nike sweatshirt, Nike hoodie. Well, obviously, I think of a designer who designed the hoodie. I think of retailers who sell it in their stores. I also think of researchers who researched the fabric and the kind of material, the construction. I think of people who understand the human body and how this might fit on various body shapes. So all the different kinds of majors might have been business, might have been marketing, uh, it might have even been something like chemistry for research and development. This is pretty obvious. This is an iPhone, although it's a little outdated. But when I think of this, I think of people that maybe majored in electrical engineering, possibly product design or industrial design. I think of people who maybe majored in electronic communications, if there is such a thing, and I'm sure there is somewhere. But also, again, people that studied marketing, business, sales, promotions. I mean, Apple's a very successful company, so they had to have had some really good marketing and product development, right? And then, of course, there's this beauty, one of our local favorites here in the Bay Area, Tesla. All kinds of majors probably went into this. First thing that comes to my mind is mechanical engineering, but because this is an electric car, maybe electrical engineering. Think of designers who designed the way the car looks, the way it feels when you're sitting in it, the way it handles when it drives. People who are experts on usability and user experience. Not to mention all the business people like marketing, sales, promotions, things like that. So you can see that sometimes the most obvious answers aren't the only answers. You can major in a multitude of things and go on to use that major in a lot of different ways. And sometimes people's majors surprise us. So I'm going to show you a famous face, and I want you to think about what they might have majored in. So the first one here is funny lady Rebel Wilson. If you've seen any of her films, you know she's a pretty funny actress. So you might think, well, she probably majored in theater or drama or television or film, something related to the performing arts, right? Wrong. Her major was law. And she attended a university in Australia because that's where she's from. But yeah, she majored in law and now she is a comic actress. So here's Eva Longoria. You might recognize her from various TV shows and Hollywood this and that. Eva Longoria. Again, you might think, well, she probably studied films, probably studied acting, something like that. Nope. She went to a university in southern Texas. I forget the name of it exactly, but she majored in kinesiology. So she studied anatomy and physiology and all the other science classes that go into kinesiology. Now, probably everybody recognizes him, John Legend, great singer, great actor, married to Chrissy Teigen. I think they have 2 really cute kids now. So you might think, well, he probably studied music or something like that. Actually, he studied English literature, I believe it is, with a concentration in African American studies and literature from University of Pennsylvania, I think it was. And then finally, this guy you might not recognize. He's a British actor. His name doesn't come to me right at the moment, but he plays a doctor on a TV show. So again, you might think, well, he probably studied theater or Shakespeare or something like that. He actually double majored at, I believe it was Cambridge University in England. He double majored in Spanish and Arabic, and those were his majors. So it just goes to show you that your major doesn't necessarily lead to the obvious job title that many people think it would, right? And there are so many, there are millions and millions and millions of other examples like this out in the world today. So now we're going to talk about some things to consider whenever you are choosing a major and career. And we're going to be using this diagram that I created. There are basically 7 different points that I wanted to cover, so I used a 7-point star, just like Game of Thrones, if you're a fan. And then there's one thing that encompasses all of that. So we're going to go through all 8 of those points now. So we'll start at the top of the star at 12 o'clock. We're going to talk about values. Values are what's important to you and why. So you need to think about that when you're thinking about your major and career, because these are decisions that impact you for the long term, right? So you want to think about what's important to you. What do you value? Do you value lots of free time? Or do you value a really set schedule with a lot of predictability? Do you value making a whole lot of money and being very well off economically? Or do you value the freedom to express yourself and just be who you are? What are those things that are important to you, right? Does it have to do with lifestyle? Does it have to do with spirituality? Does it have to do with family? Does it have to do with politics? Does it have to do with the environment? Whatever it is, those things that you value, you need to take those into consideration when you're choosing your major and career pathway. Next thing we're going to talk about is interests. What holds your attention for a prolonged period of time and over a considerable amount of time? Now, for example, when you were 8 years old, you might have really been interested in Power Rangers. But now that you're 19 or 20 years old, you might not be so much interested in Power Rangers. However, if you are, that's something for you to think about. You think about, okay, when I was 8 years old, I really loved the Power Rangers, and I'm still really, really into Power Rangers. Why is that? Is it because you like superheroes and sci-fi and fantasy type programs? Is it because you are really into the martial arts? Is it because of the things that each one represented? What was it about that captured your interest? So when you think about your interest, think about those things that can hold your attention for a prolonged period of time. And not just in the present moment, but maybe for a considerable amount of time in your life that has been an interest that's been with you. Next, we'll talk about personality. Now, there's a lot of theories about personalities, and some theorists say your personality is hardwired in your brain and it's not changeable. Other people say, no, your personality can change throughout your lifespan. You know, regardless of what you believe about personality, it all has to do with how you express yourself and how others perceive you. For example, if you perceive yourself as a shy person and an introvert, then other people are probably going to perceive you that way, probably, because you may not be very talkative, or you may be a little standoffish, or keep to yourself, or not enjoying big social gatherings or something. It's really important for you to consider your personality when you choose a major and career, because if you end up stuck in a job someday, in a role that's not a good fit for your personality, then you're going to go to work feeling pretty miserable every day. So think about your personality preferences. Are you more of an introvert or more of an extrovert? Do you show the world who you are, or do you keep it all to yourself? Do you energize yourself by being with other people, or do you energize yourself with some alone time? Or are you somewhere in the middle, right? Most of us are probably somewhere in the middle. We're not usually at the extremes, but we'll have a preference for one or the other. Are you the type of person that likes to gather information about the world based on what you see and what you hear and what you experience for yourself? Or are you the type of person that does it on a more intuitive level, where you're listening to other people's stories and you're making connections between events and people and the past and the present and things like that? When it comes to the way you think, are you more of a logical, rational kind of decision maker, or are you the kind of person who's thinking about how other people might feel about it and how it's going to affect relationships? Those are things that you need to take into consideration whenever you're choosing your major and career, so that you end up in a role that's a good fit and a good match for all of that. The next thing is experience. It's important for you to think about the significant or memorable things that you've done in your life. Now, if you're a young person, maybe you're thinking, well, I haven't really done anything. Well, obviously you have. If you've lived any amount of time on this planet, then you've accomplished something. You finished middle school, you finished high school, you learned a language, you mastered a musical instrument, you went on a really, really long hike, you earned your Eagle Scout badge, you did this or that or the other, whatever it was. You have accomplished things. And the things that you have accomplished can sometimes inform the kind of person you are, so that you can think about majors and careers that might align well with your previous experiences, especially those that are significant to you or memorable to you. If it stands out to you and it's a pleasant memory or pleasingly significant, then that's really an experience that you should take into consideration. The next thing we're looking at is knowledge. What do you know? And how do you know it? Right? Now, it's important that we distinguish between knowledge and opinion. All right? It is my opinion that there is life on other planets, that we are not alone in the universe here on Earth. But that's just an opinion. I have no knowledge of life on other planets. If I did, I would either be the most famous person on Earth right now, or I would be hunted down and put in prison so I wouldn't share that information with anybody, right? So there's a difference between knowledge and opinion. What do you know and how do you know it? Those pieces of knowledge that are in your head, it might seem trivial to you, but for example, if you are really good at remembering who won the Super Bowl in 2003, and if you know all the stats of all the Major League Baseball players of your favorite team, you know, keeping track of things like that could inform your ability to manage details and understand statistics, okay? So think about what you know and how you know it too. The next thing is a really big consideration. This is needs, okay? What kind of lifestyle do you have? What kind do you want to have? And very important consideration, who else are you responsible for besides yourself? When you make your major and career decisions, you may be making decisions that are impacting not only you, but other people as well. And if that's your case, maybe you don't have to think about other people, but if you do, it's important to think, if you're going to have to take care of younger siblings or elderly parents or something like that, you need to think about decisions that will impact them as well. So think carefully about your economic needs, your other material needs, and all of the things that you have going on in your life that might require your attention, that have nothing to do with any of the other things that we've talked about so far. The seventh thing on the star is skills. What are you able to do now, and what do you want to learn to do? So what you want to learn to do is probably connected to your interests and your prior experiences and your knowledge or your values. For example, if you value being very internationally minded and bringing peace in the world, then a skill that you might want to learn is a new foreign language, right? So think about not only what you're able to do now, but what you would like to learn to do. And when you're thinking about what you're currently able to do, if it's something that you enjoy, if it's a skill that you don't mind using, then that's an important consideration. But if it's a skill that you don't enjoy, I mean, I'm good at vacuuming, but I don't want to vacuum floors for a living. I'm good at math, but I would be utterly and completely miserable if I had to do math all day long every day in my job. Think about the skills that you enjoy using, the skills that at the very least you don't mind using them because you're good at it, and you recognize that, and you can find some benefit in utilizing that skill. So you have to take assessment of your skills. So just to recap the seven points of the star, we've got values, those things that are important to you and why. We've got interests, the things that you're interested in now or have been interested in for quite a while. You've got your personality preferences, the way you express yourself and the way other people perceive you. You've got your experiences, and those are the significant and memorable experiences you've had in your life. You've got knowledge, pieces of information that you store in your head. How do you know it? And is it information or is it an opinion? Separate the difference between knowledge and opinion. Needs, these are your economic needs, material needs, familial needs, and other things like that. And finally, your skills, the things that you are able to do and the things that you want to learn to do, and skills that you wouldn't mind using on a daily basis in a role. Now, encompassing all of that is something that touches on all points of the star. So that's represented by the circle, and that's your culture and your identity. So what role do your affinity groups and your innate traits play in your decision making? Now, affinity groups are things like your ethnicity, your ethnic background, your race, your religious affiliation, political affiliation. It could be a group like if you're really into Dungeons and Dragons and that's a huge part of your life, that's a kind of affinity group, right? When you think about your culture, you're thinking about all of these groups, some that you were born into that you really didn't have a choice over, like your race and ethnicity, but others that you do have a choice over, like your D&D group or your political group or your religious group, because you do have a choice over those, right? And then innate traits would be those things about you that you don't really have any control over. This would be your sex, your gender identity, your sexual orientation, your height, your physical abilities, your cognitive, affective, and psychomotor abilities, all of these things that are just part of who you are that you don't really choose, but it's still part of who you are. That's your identity, right? When you think about majors and careers, I think it's important to consider these things too, because these touch on the different 7 points of the stars. For example, your values are strongly influenced by your culture and your identity. What you're interested in could also be influenced by culture. I lived for many years in the Republic of Korea or South Korea. I'm a huge Star Trek fan. I love sci-fi, anything. But when I lived in Korea, it was hard to find Korean people who enjoyed sci-fi because they just really weren't into it culturally. It just wasn't a part of their cultural background, you know, it wasn't part, the whole moon exploration and going to space and stuff like that just wasn't part of that then. It might be now, I don't know. You know, your knowledge, your experience, that's a lot of times your culture and your identity have played huge roles in all of that. So think about your culture and identity in the background whenever you're considering these other things about choosing a major and career, because those are important to know about. All right, I'm going to show you, hopefully, 3 recommended major and career assessments. Now, an assessment is like a questionnaire that you fill out, and then after you fill out the questionnaire, you get some results that indicate things about you, preferences, personality types, interests, whatnot, that help to describe you. And you'll see on the next slide after this how you can bring all this together. The first one I want to talk about is the career coach. So if I click here, oh good, takes us to the career coach. This is actually part of the Los Medanos College website, and it's very easy and free. You just click take the assessment, do the 60 questions version. It sounds like a lot, but most students finish within 10 minutes. And actually that's the best way to do it, is to just go very quickly and not think about it too much. You'll get the best results actually. So career coach is going to assess your career interests, and that's all based on the work of an American psychologist named John Holland, who believed that people who are happy in their careers chose careers that aligned with their personality preferences. So after years and years and years of research, he boiled it all down to 6 basic interest areas. And this questionnaire will assess your interests and then recommend majors and careers that might be a good fit for those interests. This is used by career counselors and career services offices around the world, and even the U.S. government has a database of about 1,000 different job titles, and each job title is classified according to the codes that Mr. Holland developed. So this is a very popular career assessment, and it's very easy to wrap your head around. And back here on our page, the next one I want to show you is Find Your Grind. Find Your Grind. And Find Your Grind is not an LMC site, but it's a really good, interesting site. This has an assessment that you can complete that has to do with your lifestyle preferences, and that's all connected to your personality and how you express yourself, among other things. This is a really interesting assessment to take, and then this website offers lots of interesting information and videos about different careers. So I highly recommend Find Your Grind. You do have to create an account, but it's not, you don't have to pay anything, and it's free, and it's well worth it because the videos are amazing. This is a really good resource. And then finally is an assessment that will help you identify your best intelligences. Now, this is based on the work of another psychologist named Howard Gardner, who believed that human beings are intelligent in multiple ways and not just in the logical mathematical way that was emphasized for so many years. I believe there are 9 different intelligences on this scale, and you can just take this online assessment, and when you're done, click Find My Strengths, and it will tell you what your strongest intelligences might be. And on the next slide, you'll see mine so that you'll get a sense of what this looks like. So I recommend these 3 different assessments. So here are the results of my assessments. On my career coach interests, I assess as artistic, social, and enterprising. Artistic means that I'm a creative type. Social means I enjoy engaging with people, and enterprising means that I've got a little bit of a leadership, like to be the center of attention person in me. Although I have to say that the enterprising is actually a pretty low score, but those are my top 3 types. On Find Your Grind, I came out as explorer, creator, maker, thrill seeker, and innovator. And then my strongest intelligences emerged as interpersonal, rhythmic, spiritual, and spatial, having to do with the arrangement of things and how things look. So I look at all of these three and I'm like, do I see any kind of things in common between these? Well, I can see how artistic and creator and maker and innovator and rhythmic and even spatial could have a lot in common. Maybe that's something like graphic design, web design, art, or theater, or something like that. I look at social and I think, well, that could have something to do with maybe explorer, maybe thrill seeker, definitely interpersonal and maybe even spiritual, right? And then I look at enterprising and I think, well, that's a little bit connected to thrill seeker for sure, and innovator even, and interpersonal over on the intelligences. So when I reflect on these results and I think about things, then I'm going to think, okay, what kind of majors might be a good fit for somebody that has these interests and these lifestyle preferences and these intelligences? Well, the things that came to my mind were these: psychology and communications, because they engage the social and the interpersonal for sure, and the spiritual to an extent. Graphic design, photography, and videography engage the artistic, the creator, the maker, even the rhythmic to a degree because of sound, background music and sound effects and things. International studies, engaging social and explorer, and again, interpersonal even. Spatial, because I love maps. I like looking at maps and seeing where places are. Human resources, working for a company and helping people have good experiences in the companies they work for. Education, which is the route I went and landed me where I am now. Foreign languages, marketing, performing arts. There's probably a bajillion other majors out there that would be a good match for a lot of these preferences listed here. And I just want to say that never, ever, ever let one assessment or even a few assessments tell you what to do with your life. Just use them as tools to figure out who you are, what's a good fit for you, and use them as a launching pad for further exploration. Taking the assessment is a little bit passive. You're just answering questions. But then after that, the work begins, and only you can do the work. You're the one that has to research majors and careers, find out more about them, talk about it with people who are significant to you, and decide if it's the right choice for you or not. Okay, to explore majors and careers further, here's a list of websites. I won't take you there, but I'll just explain that transferbound.com will show you different majors offered at CSU and UC campuses. This is a very useful website to research what's currently offered, and the links will take you directly to the university's department's page for that major. LMC has a lot of degrees and certificates too, and there's the link there that you can find all the degrees that we offer, and we're adding more and more all the time. One that's in the pipeline that we're really excited about is drone technology. That sounds very 21st century, right? mynextmove.org will help you identify careers and industries that might be a good fit for those interests that you learn on Career Coach. And the nice thing about My Next Move is it also includes the average salaries and the future prospects for different careers. So you want to be thinking, 5, 6, 7, 10 years into the future, are my prospects going to be good, or is this career going to go away, right? Things change very quickly, as we saw this year earlier when COVID hit. Things can change very quickly. And then finally is the career resources page at LMC Career Services. There's other resources listed there that you can check out. So if you want to talk more about your major and career choices, please schedule a phone or Zoom appointment with us. We've got 3 people that can help you out. So visit www.losmedanos.edu, point to resources, click on transfer and career services, then select career services, and under schedule an appointment today, click on learn more. and you'll be able to schedule an appointment with either Cynthia, Edward, or me. I'm Mark. So Cynthia Perez Nicolas is the program coordinator for career services, and one of her specialties is running the CWE program, which is credit for work experience education, I think, or something like that. But it's where you can actually earn college credit for work that you're doing out in the workforce. Edward Beanis is our career exploration coordinator, really good advisor to talk to you about your major and career exploration, help you get connected with people who are good sources of information for you. And then I, as an adjunct career counselor, can work with you one-on-one to help you through the major and career decision-making process and help make a connection between that academic and career. You know, maybe you found a major you like, but you're not sure what career you could do with that. Or you know what career you want to go into, but you don't know what major might be a good fit. The reality is that Cynthia, Edward, or myself can talk to you about all the different career-related things, and we're able to help you in any way that we can. So reach out to us today, anytime, and schedule that appointment, and we hope to be hearing from you soon. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.